She believed she'd vanished from his world completely. Her ex-husband, Kim Taeyang, Seoul's most ruthless Korean mafia king. They'd once been married. Someone had threatened her into leaving. She obeyed, now 7 months pregnant and scraping by as a waitress. One evening shattered everything because he walked through those doors again. The man who'd owned her heart, the man who'd shattered her without realizing. Truth slammed into him and he understood immediately. That child was his. But before anything else could happen, Amara whispered, "Please, just go. Pretend you didn't see me." What he hasn't discovered is that someone manipulated her into divorcing him. What unfolds when Taeyang learns who orchestrated everything? Will he destroy them even if it's his own flesh and blood? Keep watching until the very end to discover the truth. Watch this story through to the finale. I guarantee your feelings will be all over the place by the time you finish. The restaurant's crystal lighting scattered reflections across polished marble as Kim Taeyang walked in with expensive perfume and empty promises draped on his shoulder. Seoul's most dangerous underworld king had supposedly moved forward, or that's what he convinced himself. Then his gaze found her. Amara, his former wife, visibly pregnant, balancing heavy trays with unsteady hands, her natural radiance dulled by bone-deep fatigue and a uniform straining against her rounded stomach. Their eyes connected through the bustling crowd, and something fundamental inside him broke apart. The woman clinging to his arm dissolved into irrelevance because the only woman who'd ever truly mattered was delivering food to his section, and everything he'd thought he'd successfully buried exploded back into devastating life. 7 months earlier, Amara Jackson had scrawled her signature on divorce documents with trembling fingers, accepting the fabrications Taeyang's mother had force-fed her, that he craved someone more appropriate, that she embarrassed his organization, that his affection had been performance. She'd disappeared without revealing her pregnancy, too demolished to resist, too dignified to plead. Now she endured 16-hour shifts at Seoul's most elite establishment, concealing her expanding belly beneath oversized clothing, existing on minimal wages and sheer willpower. The compensation barely covered her cramped studio in one of Seoul's roughest districts. She'd liquidated everything valuable: jewelry Taeyang had bestowed, luxury garments, even her smartphone. She operated a cheap, prepaid device now with 0 contacts, 0 links to her previous existence. Each dawn she awakened with her spine throbbing, her ankles swollen, her spirit still fractured. Each evening she sobbed herself unconscious, one palm resting on her growing belly, murmuring apologies to the innocent life who merited infinitely better. Kim Taeyang had hunted for her. For endless months he'd ransacked Seoul, pursuing the wife who'd evaporated like morning mist. His mother had performed ignorance flawlessly, her expression a practiced mask of worry. His soldiers had discovered nothing. Amara had been excessively cautious, excessively determined to vanish completely. He drowned himself in contracts and companions who signified nothing, attempting to erase eyes like warm earth and laughter that had once constituted his entire universe. But forgetting proved impossible. Every woman he encountered wasn't her. Every caress felt incorrect. Every kiss tasted like disloyalty, not to them, but to the ghost of the singular person who'd ever made him feel genuinely human. Tonight was supposed to be uncomplicated. Dinner with So-hee, a woman his mother sanctioned, someone from the correct lineage with the correct associations. So-hee was attractive in a calculating, manufactured way, tall, slender, immaculately presented. She spoke endlessly about charity functions and luxury labels and high society gossip. Taeyang barely registered her words, his consciousness elsewhere, fixating on the wife who'd abandoned him without justification. Then reality froze entirely. Amara materialized from the kitchen, transporting a tray burdened with dishes, navigating carefully to accommodate her pregnant form. She wore the establishment's black and white uniform, her natural coils secured into a severe bun, her face gaunter than his memories held. Shadows circled beneath her eyes. Her movements were deliberate, pained. yet she remained the most magnificent thing he'd ever witnessed. Their gazes locked through the space. Hers expanded with alarm and something deeper, humiliation, terror, yearning, all tangled together. His narrowed with shock that rapidly transformed into fury and something more profound. Possession, longing, rage that she'd existed here suffering while he'd been searching everywhere except here. She broke eye contact first, pivoting toward a different area with transparent desperation, but he was already rising, his body reacting before his mind fully absorbed what he was witnessing. "Taeyang, where are you going?" Sohee's voice dissolved behind him. He didn't respond. He crossed the restaurant in measured strides, his presence creating space instinctively. Patrons recognized him, Seoul's shadow sovereign, and retreated. Whispers trailed him. Staff froze mid-movement, but his focus never abandoned Amara. She sensed him before seeing him. That recognizable electricity that had always existed between them, that magnetic force she'd never successfully resisted. She rotated, and he stood there, close enough that she could detect his cologne, that costly scent that used to saturate her skin, close enough to observe the fury and bewilderment battling in his obsidian eyes. "Amara!" His voice emerged rough, barely restrained, vibrating with emotion. "What the hell are you doing here?" She elevated her chin, summoning dignity she didn't possess. Her grip tightened on the tray. "Working. Excuse me, I have customers." His hand darted out, capturing her wrist gently yet firmly. The contact sent electricity through both of them. "You're pregnant." "Congratulations on your powers of observation." The sarcasm was her sole defense against the emotions threatening to drown her. "How far along?" His eyes descended to her belly, then returned to her face. She watched him calculating, watched the instant realization struck. "Amara, how far along?" 7 months. Now release me before I lose this position too." Her voice fractured on the final word. 7 months. The mathematics was instantaneous. She'd been pregnant when she vanished. His child. She was carrying his child and working herself into exhaustion in a restaurant while he'd been. Fury unlike anything he'd known flooded through him. "You're leaving with me." He began pulling her toward the exit. "No." She wrenched her arm free, adrenaline overriding fear. The tray wobbled precariously. "I'm not going anywhere with you. You have a date waiting. Return to her." "I don't give a damn about her." His voice elevated enough that surrounding diners turned to observe. "You're my wife." "Ex-wife. We're divorced. Remember? Your mother made that abundantly clear." Tears threatened, but she blinked them back violently. Something lethal flashed in his eyes. "My mother. What did she do?" "It doesn't matter anymore." Amara's voice cracked despite her efforts. "Please just go. Pretend you didn't see me. It's what you desired anyway." "Pretend?" He laughed, the sound harsh and broken. "You're carrying my child and you want me to pretend? Where have you been? Do you have any comprehension what I—" "Excuse me?" The restaurant manager materialized, his expression stern but anxious. He recognized Taeyang, understood his reputation. "You're disturbing the other patrons. Miss Jackson, return to work. Sir, please return to your table." Taeyang turned to the manager with an expression that made the man retreat instinctively. "She's finished working here. Effective immediately." "You can't," Amara started, panic rising. She needed this income, needed the money. "Watch me." He extracted his phone, made one call. His voice was frigid, commanding. "Purchase this restaurant immediately. I want ownership transferred within 60 minutes. I don't care about the cost." He disconnected, then addressed the manager again. "You're terminated for forcing a pregnant woman to work standing for 16 hours, for compensating her slave wages, for not ensuring she received proper breaks or nutrition." The manager paled. "You can't just—" "I own half of Seoul. I can do whatever I want." Taeyang's attention returned to Amara. His hand discovered her lower back, proprietary and protective. "We're departing now." "I need this job. I need the money for the baby." "You don't need anything. I'll provide everything." His voice softened marginally. Don't fight me on this, Amara. You won't win, and you shouldn't have to fight anymore. She wanted to argue, to maintain her independence, to prove she didn't need him, but exhaustion and pregnancy hormones and the overwhelming presence of the man she'd never stopped loving made her defenses crumble completely. Her feet ached, her back throbbed. She was exhausted from struggling alone. She let him guide her out, past the staring diners, past Sohee's shocked and enraged expression, into the frigid Seoul night. His hand never left her back, supporting her, claiming her. His vehicle appeared within seconds, a black Mercedes with tinted windows. He helped her inside with unexpected gentleness, his hands careful on her arms, then climbed in beside her. The interior smelled like leather and him. Memories flooded back, of other car rides, of his hand on her thigh, of stolen kisses at red lights. "Where are we going?" she asked, her voice small. "Home." He studied her face like he was memorizing it all over again. "To our home." "We don't have a home. Not anymore. We never stopped having a home. You left. I didn't." His jaw clenched. "Why, Amara? Why did you leave without telling me you were pregnant? Why did you disappear like I meant nothing?" She stared at her hands, at the wedding ring she'd sold months ago for rent. "Because your mother told me you wanted me gone, that I was an embarrassment, that you'd moved on." "And you believed her? After everything we were to each other?" "She had divorce papers with your signature." Amara's voice broke. "She said you were too kind to tell me yourself, but that you wanted someone suitable, someone Korean, someone who fit your world. And I looked at our life and realized she was right. I never fit. I was just fooling myself." Taeyang was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice shook with controlled rage. "I never signed divorce papers. I refused. My mother forged my signature." Amara's head snapped up. "What?" "I refused to divorce you. I told her I'd never let you go, that she could threaten me all she wanted, but you were my wife, and that was forever." His hands clenched into fists. "She forged my signature, filed the papers without my knowledge. When I found out, it was too late. You were already gone." The implications crashed over Amara like waves. "She lied to both of us." "She lied to both of us," he confirmed, fury simmering beneath his controlled exterior. "And she will pay for it. But first—" His eyes dropped to her belly again, and his expression softened impossibly. "First, we deal with this. With us. With our baby." The drive to his penthouse was tense and silent. Amara stared out the window, trying to process everything. 7 months of suffering, of believing she was unwanted, of struggling alone, all based on lies. Taeyang kept stealing glances at her belly, his hands clenched on his thighs like he was physically restraining himself from reaching out. When they arrived, the building's doorman looked shocked to see her. "Mrs. Kim, welcome back. We've missed you." So he'd never told anyone about the divorce. Interesting. Or maybe the divorce had never been real at all. The penthouse was exactly as she remembered, cold, modern, expensive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Seoul's glittering skyline, marble floors, designer furniture, art that cost more than most people earned in a year. But something was different. Her things were still there. Photos of them together still lined the shelves. Their wedding day, vacations they'd taken, candid moments of happiness. Her favorite books sat on the coffee table exactly where she'd left them. Her art supplies were organized neatly in the corner. It was like he'd frozen the apartment in time, preserving their marriage like a museum exhibit. "You kept everything," she said quietly, emotion tightening her throat. "Of course I kept everything. You're my wife." He shrugged off his jacket, loosened his tie with sharp, angry movements. "Sit down. You look exhausted." "I'm fine." "Sit down." Command threaded through the words, the voice he used to run an empire. She sat, hating how her body obeyed him automatically, how her aching feet thanked her for the relief. Pregnancy had sapped her usual fire, left her vulnerable in ways she resented. Taeyang disappeared into the kitchen, returning with water, fruit, crackers, cheese. He set them on the table in front of her. Eat. When was the last time you had a proper meal? This morning. Don't lie to me. His eyes pinned her. I know you, Amara. I know when you're lying. When was the last time you actually ate enough? She took the water, sipping it slowly, her stomach cramping with hunger she'd been ignoring. 2 days ago, maybe 3. His expression darkened dangerously. You've been starving yourself? Starving my child? I haven't been starving anyone. I could barely afford food and rent. The tips at the restaurant weren't enough and the pay was garbage. I was doing the best I could. She stopped, not wanting to reveal how desperate things had gotten. The nights she'd gone to bed hungry so the baby would be okay. The times she'd contemplated calling him, but pride had stopped her. And you didn't call me. Didn't tell me you were struggling. He crouched in front of her, his eyes level with hers. Why? After everything we were to each other, why would you suffer alone rather than reach out? Because your mother told me you wanted the divorce. The words burst out of her, 7 months of pain and anger behind them. She said you were embarrassed by me, that I wasn't suitable for your world, that you'd already moved on with someone from a proper Korean family. She had papers, Taeyang, legal documents with your signature. She paid me money to leave quietly. She told me if I really loved you, I'd let you go so you could have the life you deserved. And I believed her because deep down I always knew I didn't belong in your world. I was just a girl from nowhere who got lucky enough to catch your attention for a while. Taeyang went very still, his eyes darkening with a rage she'd rarely seen. My mother told you that. Yes. She said you were too polite to say it yourself, so she was doing it for you. She showed me photos of you with other women. Society women, suitable women. She said you'd been seeing them, planning your future with them. Fresh tears spilled down Amara's cheeks. And I believed her because I'd always felt like an imposter in your life. Like eventually you'd wake up and realize you'd made a mistake with me. No. His hands framed her face, forcing her to look at him. No. You were never a mistake. You were never just anything. You were everything. You are everything. His voice broke. I never wanted a divorce. I came home one day and you were gone. No note, no explanation, nothing. Just gone. Your clothes, your art supplies, your books, everything. Like you'd never existed. And my mother claimed she had no idea where you went. She cried, said she'd tried to stop you, but you'd insisted on leaving. She lied to both of us. The realization settled over Amara like ice water, making everything clear and terrible. She lied to both of us, he confirmed, rage simmering beneath his controlled exterior. She manipulated us both. Destroyed our marriage because she didn't think you were suitable, because she's a classist, prejudiced woman who cares more about appearances than her son's happiness. His thumbs brushed away her tears. And she will pay for it. But first, he moved his hands to her belly, touching the swell of their child with reverent wonder. First, we deal with this, with us, with our baby who's been growing while we've been apart. The baby kicked at his touch and his eyes widened with shock and wonder. Was that? They kick a lot. Despite everything, Amara smiled at his expression, especially at night when I'm trying to sleep. They? He looked up at her, his eyes shining. Do you know what we're having? I didn't want to find out alone. The admission cost her, revealing how much she'd wanted to share this with him. How many ultrasounds had she attended by herself, crying in parking lots afterwards because she was so alone? His expression cracked completely, emotion flooding through. I missed 7 months. 7 months of your pregnancy, of our child growing, of you needing me and me not being there. His forehead dropped to her belly and she felt him trembling. I'm sorry. God, Amara, I'm so sorry. I should have found you sooner, should have searched harder, should have known my mother was lying. She wanted to stay angry, wanted to protect herself from the inevitable pain of loving him and losing him again. But seeing him broken like this, feeling his hands gently on her stomach, hearing the raw emotion in his voice, she felt her walls crumbling brick by brick. "It's not your fault," she whispered, her fingers finding his hair. "We were both manipulated, both lied to. It is my fault. I should have questioned everything, should have torn Seoul apart until I found you, should have known you'd never leave me without a damn good reason." He looked up, his eyes fierce and wet. "But you're here now, you're home, and I'm never letting you go again. Do you understand? Never. I don't care what I have to do, who I have to fight, what I have to destroy. You're mine, and you're staying mine." The possessiveness should have frightened her. Instead, it made her feel cherished, wanted, protected. That's very presumptuous. It's a promise. He stood, pulling her up with him, his hands careful on her arms. "You're exhausted. You need to rest, eat properly, take care of yourself and our baby. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to shower, put on comfortable clothes, and sleep in our bed. I'm going to order food, real food, nutritious food. And tomorrow we're seeing the best OB in Seoul to make sure you and the baby are healthy. Taeyang, This isn't negotiable, Amara. You've been suffering for 7 months. That ends now." His voice softened. "Please, let me take care of you. Let me be what I should have been all along." She was too tired to argue, too emotionally overwhelmed, too desperate for the comfort and safety he was offering. She nodded, and relief flooded his features. The next morning, Amara woke in a bed that smelled like Taeyang, sandalwood, and something uniquely his. She was alone, wearing one of his soft t-shirts that stretched across her pregnant belly, her filthy uniform gone. Memories of the night before flooded back. How he'd insisted she shower, had stood outside the bathroom like he was afraid she'd disappear. How he'd brought her food and watched her eat every bite, his eyes never leaving her face. How he'd lain beside her in bed, his hand on her belly, talking softly to their child about how sorry he was for missing so much time. How he'd held her when she cried, when 7 months of pain and loneliness came pouring out. She found him in his office on the phone, his voice cold and lethal. "I don't care what excuse you have, Mother. You lied to me. You sent my wife away pregnant and let me believe she'd abandoned me. You made her suffer. You made her work herself to exhaustion while carrying my child. You manipulated both of us because of your prejudice." A pause. His mother's voice came through the speaker, shrill and defensive, making excuses in Korean. "No. You don't get to explain. You don't get to justify. You're cut off. All access to my accounts, all positions in my companies, all influence in my life. Gone. Effective immediately." His voice was ice. "You wanted me to marry someone suitable? Congratulations. I'm already married to the only woman I've ever loved, the only woman I will ever love. And you will never see your grandchild. You will never know them, never hold them, never be part of their life. You made that choice when you destroyed my marriage." His mother's voice rose, pleading now, but Taeyang cut her off. "If you ever contact Amara again, if you ever come near my family, I will forget you're my mother. I will treat you like any other enemy, and you know what I do to my enemies." He hung up, then noticed Amara in the doorway. "You didn't have to do that," she said softly, though part of her was fiercely glad he had. "Yes, I did. She nearly destroyed us. She made you suffer for 7 months. She made me search desperately for my wife while lying to my face about knowing nothing." He stood, crossing to her. "She chose appearances over our happiness. Now she lives with the consequences. She's still your mother. And you're still my wife. My priority. Always." His hands found her waist. "How do you feel? Did you sleep? Better than I have in months?" She touched her belly self-consciously. "The baby's been quiet this morning. Usually they're kicking by now." Concern flashed across his face. "Is that normal? Should we call the doctor?" "I think they're just comfortable. Good bed, less stress." She smiled at his worry. "But we should probably see a doctor soon anyway, make sure everything's okay." "We're going today. I already made an appointment." At her surprised look, he shrugged. "I called the best OB in Seoul at 6 this morning. We have an appointment at 10. It's not even 8 yet." "I wanted to be sure we got in." He pulled her closer, careful of her belly. Amara, we need to talk about us. About what happens now. What's there to talk about? You said the divorce was never real. It wasn't. I refused to sign, which means legally you're still my wife. His smile was predatory, possessive. You're still mine, Amara. You never stopped being mine. The possessiveness should have annoyed her. Instead, it sent heat through her body, reminding her of all the reasons she'd fallen for him in the first place. That's very presumptuous. It's the truth. And here's another truth. I love you. I never stopped loving you, and I'm going to spend every day proving it to you until you believe me again. I never stopped loving you either, she admitted, the words spilling out before she could stop them. Even when I thought you'd rejected me, even when I was angry and hurt and alone, I couldn't stop. I tried, but I couldn't. His kiss was gentle despite the intensity in his eyes, mindful of her pregnant belly between them. Then stay. Let me take care of you. Let me be the husband and father I should have been all along. Before she could answer, his phone rang. He answered with visible irritation. What? His expression changed, darkening dangerously. When? Where is she now? A pause. Keep her there. I'm coming. He hung up, already reaching for his jacket. What's wrong? Amara asked, fear spiking. The woman from last night. She's been talking to reporters, spreading lies about you, about us, trying to damage my reputation and yours. His jaw clenched. Claiming you're some con artist who trapped me with a fake pregnancy, that you're trying to extort money from me. What? But I know it's all lies, but rumors spread fast in this city. I need to handle this before it gets worse. He cupped her face. Stay here, rest, eat. I'll be back soon, and then we'll go to your doctor's appointment together. Taeyang, be careful. Always. He kissed her forehead. And Amara? Start thinking about names. We have a baby to plan for.